All right, so now I'd love to bring up our next speakers. We have DREAM's program coordinator, Nathalia Trujillo. And so I'm just going to read her bio here. Nathalia Trujillo is currently pursuing a master's in international education policy at Harvard University. Her previous work includes teaching fifth grade bilingual education and literacy intervention program coordination in the Dominican Republic public schools, and as a project associate for the International Development Division at American Institutes for Research. During her time at DREAM Project, she hired, trained, and supervised 6 new teachers for new USAID project Espacios para Crecer, EPC, with 420 students, supervised 13 public school teachers, each with 70 students. I'm getting hot just reading this. This is great. I can't wait to hear from her. Trujillo earned a master's degree in early childhood education with a bilingual extension and her teaching license from the New York Department of Education. We have our very own San May, assistant program manager at Power to Fly, who will be leading this conversation with her. So thank you both. I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie, for that great introduction. And so glad to have you with us here, Natalia. Welcome to the Diversity Reboot Summit. So how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So why don't we start this session by getting to know a bit more about you, where you're based, what you're studying, and your fabulous work at the DREAM Project.
No problem. So my name is Nathalia Trujillo. I'm currently in Boston. I am studying international education policy and analysis, as I was very much impacted by the work that I did in the Dominican Republic with DREAM. And I'm happy and here to talk about all the good things that DREAM Project is currently doing.
Totally, sounds good. So tell us more about the DREAM Project and what are the different programs that you're undertaking to increase the literacy amongst children and among the underrepresented communities. So tell us more about that.
Sure. So right now, the 2018 PISA studies showed that the Dominican Republic was actually second to last in the world ranking. And that's due to their low levels of literacy and mathematics and science skills. So the DREAM Project actually works in this space to try and mitigate some of the challenges that children and families face. We have 6 core areas that we work in. One of them is literacy. We also have Montessori schools. We work in youth development. We have the Bachata Academy, and we have community programs as well as programs with students or colleges from the US who wish to go to DR and to DREAM to see and experience what education is like.
Wow. I mean, it's so wonderful. I mean, literally the name translates into, it's DREAM, right? You're enabling people, students and children from the underrepresented communities to actually see a dream, believe a dream, and realize that it's attainable. So glad, and I'm so happy for the work that you're doing. Moving forward, I'd love to know, talking about in most of the countries, public schools are the basic pillar of literary education when it comes to less than high school students, for young students. So how is DREAM revolutionizing the literacy program in public schools? Tell us more about that.
I think we can look at it from 2 aspects. The first is our Montessori schools. So pre-primary education is not mandatory in the Dominican Republic right now. So our program is our Montessori schools are offering students a chance from 3 years old to 5 years old, a chance to actually get a head start into reading, writing, to math. So we're definitely pushing the envelope there and in the pre-primary space area, as well as our literacy programs. We currently have about 10 libraries that we have established in our public schools where students are able to go check out books and to read.
Okay.
We have our main library in Cabarete that has almost, I think, 10,000 books currently that students are able to and families are able to go check out. We also, and which is remarkable because free public libraries and spaces are very hard to come by in specifically the north coast of the Dominican Republic, which is a more rural area. We also have our main program for literacy, which is we work with our public schools and we put teachers in the public schools that help take out students in small groups and work with them on their literacy. Most of these students are between the ages of 10 to 15 that are behind right now, that are reading at a first, second grade level and are in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade. So we really target and we do interventions at the school level and as well for teachers. We work with teachers to help cultivate reading skills, to help cultivate social emotional practices to help students feel engaged and valued in the learning space.
Got it. Wow, that's so nice, and I really love the fact that you're focusing on a more personalized education. And could you please tell me what is the teacher to student ratio that we're looking at here? I mean, a dream.
For our students, well, for us, we do about the biggest group that we take out is like 7 to 8 students.
Wow.
Whereas in the public schools, there are approximately like 30, 35. I've seen classrooms of up to 40 students for one teacher. So it's incredibly hard for public school teachers to teach under these conditions, especially with the varied learning skills and differences that come with each student. So we try to take out 5 to 10 students for approximately an hour each day to work with students to help them, give them this individualized education that
personalized education.
Very lacking. Yeah,
totally, and that's really some fabulous work that you're doing. And I just wanted to add on to this and ask, since in the pre-primary level and in countries like Dominican Republic, where the families that these young students come from might not be that much from a high literary background. So what are some challenges that you face, in terms of getting the families to understand that, okay, it's really good for your kids to come learn, and we'll be giving them this personalized attention, and, we will be equipping them to attain their dreams in the future. So how do you do that?
Yeah, we have definitely started. I mean, DREAM is community based and is within the community. So we're very well known in the North Coast and in the country, and particularly in Cabarete. But we have expanded our family engagement activities. For one, we have our library program holds parent-family community night, where that has been, we have shown movies about education, or just movies that help bring, or just children movies that help just create a sense of community, because there aren't those spaces in the communities that we work in. We've also, particularly in our Montessori program, before students even enter our Montessori schools, they have to come with their parents to a training that basically involves parents and community members on our teaching methods, on what they can do in their own homes to help promote this love of reading, or this culture of reading. And that's just some of the things that we are currently doing with parents, especially with COVID. We've definitely pushed more family engagement through WhatsApp groups, definitely through family through home visits, so we can understand the students' culture, understand where the students are coming from, and family background, to better be able to help them. I know specifically right now in our Montessori program, we have just expanded into our second, third grade classroom.
Okay.
And we are having weekly meetings with family members on updating them on where the child is, specifically because there has been such a digression from COVID. So to be able to keep families informed and help them understand what they're learning, how they can help so that they feel engaged and that they have power to help their students on this journey.
Totally agree with you, Natalia. And, as a parent, when they get to know that their kids are safe, definitely in this pandemic times, and they're getting to learn their way into a better future. So I totally get the reception from them must be positive. So adding on to this this COVID thing, this pandemic has been hard for all of us, and basically we belonging to a much privileged space. It's really easy for us to say that it's hard, and for people who are actually not as privileged as we are, it's been far more nerve-wracking for them. So just tell me how did the DREAM project mitigate the effects of COVID? How did you pivot during the COVID period?
Yeah, this was incredibly hard because we conceptualize education as a teacher student. You go to the classroom, but I think DREAM has done an incredible job, definitely mobilizing the resources that we have and the human capital that we have on the ground to continue serving students. For one, we distributed, we call them packs. So we gave students workbooks, readings, just general books for them to read. But we also know that with empty tummies, students can't read. Without social emotional help, students can't learn. So to address those needs, DREAM sent packages of food to our families, rice, beans, things that were able to hold them over, particularly because Cabarete and the North Coast, they very much are a tourism-based economy. And so when COVID started and tourism ended, all of our families did not have the means, were laid off of jobs and did not have the means to access food and water, so which we DREAM provided, basically. And our social emotional learning definitely took a forefront as parents and children were forced to spend more time together, and that can lead to definitely more problems and conflict. So for one, we created these classes or online through Instagram Live, through Facebook Live, through WhatsApp, where our two psychologists would actually impart, just
counseling to them.
Counseling to them and lessons on how to mitigate and how to talk to your child about what's going on, and how they're feeling, and definitely validating those emotions. So that's definitely one of the aspects that we try to focus on.
Wow, that's so nice, that you're working on the grassroots levels to, kind of impact the families that are at the most need for external help. That's so nice. By the way, adding on to that, so yes, in our previous session, we had Candelario Cervantes, who works at the NGA, who works at Teach for America. So what he mentioned is that, there's a growing digital divide. Like, we take it for granted that, online education, people learning through WhatsApp, the Zoom calls, the Google Meets and whatnot. But we don't realize that, there are families, there are people who haven't had yet an encounter with a personal computer, or who don't have access to a mobile internet or, a broadband connection. So how did you address those issues, and how is the DREAM project tackling those issues?
Yeah, the digital divide is very real, particularly in the Dominican Republic, where more rural areas are very difficult to get internet and just internet stability. that's why we created our packs. I think that that was our main push for families that did not have internet connection. We literally printed out just materials and worksheets and provided them with books and personally delivered them to the houses, so that students will still have a chance to learn. And then we would go back, collect the materials that students had already done. Teachers would grade them, would provide feedback, and we would return those packets back to the students. So it was a continual just trying to figure it out as we were going through it, right? And trying
back to the basics.
Back to the basics, and really involving families and communities to even, just continue to, some families would even send pictures of students' work through our WhatsApp channels. So it was incredibly hard, but just rewarding to see a community just come together for, the learning of children.
Totally. And, I'm not even there, but from your experience, from what you're recounting, I'm feeling that surreal feeling that, you work for somebody and, that person is actually getting to learn and getting to read, and, the circumstances are not stopping that person from accessing the learning resources. That's so great, and that's commendable. Kudos to you, Natalia. You're doing such a great work. By the way, moving forward, it's not just the students. I mean, due to COVID, the lower income families were the most affected. And as you said, as you just mentioned previously, that, learning cannot be done in an empty stomach. And, at the end of the day, the student lives amongst the family members. So if the family members are in despair, be it financially, be it emotionally, it directly or indirectly affects the student. So, tell me more about, so did the DREAM project actually help the families of, these lower income group families beyond education? So did you help them out in any other ways?
Yeah, we actually do have a youth workforce program that targets the 18 to 25-year-olds. So we focus on this population because they're either not in school or they don't have jobs. So we take these, we call them students. We're lifelong learners anyway.
Totally agree.
So we take these students and we help them acquire workforce skills. So we teach them English, we teach them how to use a computer. We provide internships for them to be able to work with restaurants and hotels in the area that gets them like workforce experience, so that they can add that to the resume. And then a lot of our students end up getting hired at these jobs. And so we not only just work at the elementary, middle school level, but we also recognize that there is a need for job opportunities and for employability. And in order for you to get employed, you need skills. So we target that area by providing them with all of these skills and just being there as a resource to connect and being that buffer to connect between the private sector and hotels and restaurants and the community to be able to place them in actual internships and get them jobs.
Totally. And, it was actually my next question that, most NGOs and nonprofits actually, they're very niche focused, that, if they're focusing on elementary, then, that's their solo focus. But, when the student passes out from elementary, then what? What does he do? What does that person do in the future? So are you equipping them for the future in entirety, or are you equipping them for a small portion? And it was really surreal to know that, you are thinking beyond the elementary school. And once, people are of a certain age and moving into the workforce, you are training them to get, entry-level jobs and create a resume for their own, and so that, they can climb the career ladder of their own. That's commendable. So tell us more about, for if somebody wants to study, somebody who has graduated from the DREAM program. I use the word graduated, but, since they attended, and since you're really doing so much to attain their dreams, that word is worth it. So moving forward, I mean, if somebody wants to attain a particular, let's say, go to a particular college, go to a particular institution, so do you have any programs or scholarships for them?
So we work with the Thomas Rosado Foundation,
Wow.
and so we help students apply for scholarships to get into colleges. We do help with that application process, and once they get the scholarship, we help them with just different kind of workshops, such as time management, how to study, how to navigate college, and how to advocate for yourself. We work specifically with that population. And we currently have, it was stopped because of COVID, but before that, we had programs with the U.S. Embassy that focused on getting students to come to the U.S. To experience this cultural diversity and this cultural exchange based on a particular project that they would come back to the Dominican Republic and help enact it. This program is called Jóvenes Embajadores, which basically is training to be students, ambassadors, right, for their own country. One of the issues that was previously addressed in this program was just the impact of climate change and how we can see that in the Dominican Republic, and definitely issues of like recycling and garbage collection are very real. So we help students build, I guess, this self-confidence through these programs and these projects to be able to really become agents of change within their own community.
Wow, that's so nice. And moving forward, tell us more about the documentation support that you provide to students.
So what we have noticed is that students don't have their birth certificate or that they don't have the proper documentation to go into school. So for elementary school, you don't need it. You can just automatically go. But in order to access higher education and in order to go into universities, you need this birth certificate. So our program is called Luceros, and we actually help families take out birth certificates, take out cédulas, which is the national ID, in order to be able for students to, in the future, just go to college, which is just that accessibility part that we're trying to address.
Wow, Natalia. I mean, the chat is filled with kudos for the kind of work that you're doing. And speaking of the chat, we have a question from the chat. So my husband is from the DR, and we have experienced this problem firsthand. So inspired by your work. So how do we volunteer or become a part of this project?
Definitely. So if you go on the website, it's www.dominicandream.com. There's various ways to get involved. We have, oh my God, we have so many ways to get involved. The first, we usually run these summer programs or summer camps, what we call them. And the summer camps are just 5 weeks of classes, of trips, that we try to mitigate the summer slide and help students prepare for the next year. So we have volunteers come from the US. You can have education experience or not, but just help in the summer camps and be able to experience what DREAM does and work with children and families. We also have, basically, if you want to volunteer, you can create your own project and we can help you, or you can just, if you want to learn more, we will more than gladly host you. And I think basically, if you want to come volunteer with us, there is a way. If there's a program you're very much interested in learning about and participating in, we'll connect you with our coordinators and be able to get you on the way.
Totally, Natalia. And your face speaks of the passion that you have for this project. So, for everyone tuned in who wants to make change at the grassroots level and help you with the work that you're doing by donating. So, how can we donate, and how does that donation impact the community in Cabarete? So.
Yeah. So if you go to the website, there is a donate option, but you can also purchase like t-shirts and sweaters and water bottles. But most importantly, we at the Dream Project, we also help students create and write their own children's book. So we actually have books written by children on our website that they have written and produced and have taken great pride in. So we can also go ahead and purchase those children's books. And all of the money that is used is or collected is used for the programs, for the development of these programs and the continuation of them. So definitely every dollar goes into our children, and being able to provide this high quality education that we're trying to achieve.
Totally. And as we are, as we're inching to the end of the session and we are going to wrap up the summit, so I'd love to know, how can we connect with you and get to know more about you and maybe, support you in your endeavors?
Oh, thank you. Yes, just through my email, and I see in the chat that I'll repeat. I can repeat the website. It's www.dominicandream.org.
.org. Okay.
And the website is just filled with information and definitely ways to volunteer. You can come for a short period. You can come for a whole year. I went for 1 year and I stayed 3. So.
Wow. So nice, Natalia. It was so nice to have you with us here, and the passion in your eyes, and that's commendable, and the work that you're doing for the small kids out there, kudos to you for that. So having said that, over to you, Mariela.